Come on down to the Law Student Lounge with your host, attorney Ryan McKeen, where law students like you tell their stories. So pull up a chair and join us in the lounge.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here today with Haley Vanti. Haley reached out to me on LinkedIn because she reads my posts about being an entrepreneurial lawyer and building a business. Haley just graduated from law school this year, went to Quinnipiac. She's actually at this really terrifying moment in the profession, 2 days away from bar exam results. So she's waiting on those. She's currently working as an attorney at Lewis Brisbois in Hartford, the Boston office. We'll get into all that. Welcome, Haley.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
So, Haley, I am super excited to talk to somebody who is looking to go into the entrepreneurial aspect of law or business or whatever one does as an entrepreneur. I think entrepreneur is like, it's who you are, and you can do a whole bunch of different things. So let's begin, because you told me that your dad is your inspiration. Can you talk to me about growing up in the household of an entrepreneur, what you saw, what you learned, all that sort of stuff? And I'm also really pretty interested because my kids have grown up watching me and my wife grow businesses.
Yeah, for sure. So like you said, my dad is an entrepreneur. He's an OT, occupational therapist by profession. My mom is a physician assistant. She's newly retired. But my dad started a home care company that he employs nurses and physical therapists and occupational therapists that, go out after you have a orthopedic surgery, and they do therapy or nursing at home. So he started that business in 2010 when I was 12. And prior to that, he had owned another company that they did therapy for nursing homes. So I've grown up around him being an entrepreneur, and I've seen, as you know, the struggle and the success that comes with starting your own business, which has always really inspired me. And I think that being an entrepreneur gives you almost a higher ceiling than, joining a job or joining a company, because there's really no limit to where you can go when you own your own business. So
now, were your dinner time, conversations you overheard, like things like profit and loss statements, taxes, employee relations, sales, were those kinds of things like talked about a lot in your house?
For sure. So both of my parents are technically in medicine, I guess. So there's a lot of medicine conversations, but also a lot of conversations as to, growing your business and what can you do, and what are different ways in which you can hire, the hiring process, like reaching out, trying to get more employees, trying to network with different doctors' offices to get more business. So I think that's something that I grew up with. So I'm so used to that standard or those conversations. So I'm really interested.
So what do you do as an undergrad? Like, do you know when you go to college, like you want to own businesses, you want to pursue an entrepreneurial path? Like, where do you go to college? What do you do in college? What do you study?
Okay, so I went to Connecticut College in New London. I played basketball there, and I majored in government, minored in economics and psychology. So all kind of a little interrelated. I knew I wanted to be an attorney. I knew I wanted to go to law school probably around my senior year of high school. I had shadowed, it's actually funny, I had shadowed one of my dad's business attorneys, and I saw him in court. And, I grew up with this, this business mind, but also I'm an athlete. That's how I grew up. I played basketball, I played soccer, I did karate growing up. And so I shadowed this attorney of my dad's, and I watched him in court, and I was like, oh, that's exactly what I want to do. Besides the entrepreneur aspect, just that athlete, that competitive mentality was something that really interested me. So when I went to college, I kind of knew that law school was the next step. And I would say that probably during my internships in college and in law school, that's when I started to think about owning my own law firm someday.
Go Camels. That's awesome. And I can almost think of like no better preparation for being an entrepreneur or a lawyer than, being an athlete. And you've got, that's hard. I mean, the discipline required to get up early, to go the extra mile, to, run the extra, suicide or whatever they call them today. All those things are really successful skills, because I think one of the things that you need to be an entrepreneur or lawyer is you need what I call the resilience muscle, because you're constantly being tested with. You should constantly be pushing your comfort zones. You need to constantly be doing things different, and you need to feel. You're going to feel pain. You're going to feel pain running a business. You're going to feel pain being a lawyer, and you need to know how to push through. So that is awesome. And so you do all this. And so it was your dad's business lawyer that really sort of inspired you to go to law school.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it was definitely just that time in my life too. My senior year, I tore my ACL and my meniscus in my knee. So I had all this drive and this motivation, and, I did wind up playing basketball in college. But I think at that time I was, when you're a kid, you're focused on, oh, this sport that I play, or, oh yeah, I'll go to college someday, hopefully. But I think during that time I had to find somewhere else to kind of shift that drive, that muscle. So that's when I shadowed him a couple times, and I was watching him in court, and that's really what inspired me. I was like, oh, this is what I want to do.
You willing to give him a shout out? Because I love letting I know that there are good things
sure.
I have inspired somebody, or I'm a big fan, if you're out there in this profession, of going out and saying good things behind somebody's back. And when somebody says something good, let them know. So
100%. So my dad's attorney, he's living in Florida now, but his name is Craig Tashner. He was awesome. And I have actually so many more. I know I reached out to you on LinkedIn, and I actually have so many more mentors that I will shout out throughout the episode. But I think that, mentoring has really taken me to where I am today. And, I have two attorney mentors that have, opened so many doors for me, and have encouraged me to reach out to people like you, that, have what I want someday, and have encouraged me to, be brave and reach out and network.
So, Craig, if you're out there, hope you're listening, and that is awesome. Kudos to you for inspiring the next generation of lawyers through your great work. So that is awesome. So let's go right into law school a little bit, because it's the Law Student Lounge. So in law school, you've got your first year, you've got like your basic curriculum behind all of that. But what was Quinnipiac offering for you in terms of like how to run your own business, or do they offer anything surrounding this? I know some law schools do, some law schools don't. A law school I went to didn't touch any of this. So can you talk a little bit about any sort of classroom preparation that you had to that aligned with your goals and dreams?
Yeah, for sure. So I know Quinnipiac has one class that talks about the ins and outs of a law firm, and, building a law firm. I didn't take that class. I don't think it worked with my schedule. However, while I was at Quinnipiac, I had a couple professors that did own their own firms. And, obviously during class, you get into discussions, and we had a lot of guest speakers as well that would come in and would talk about their firms and how they built them, etc. And I think that what inspired me was these people that did own their own firms. They just seemed so passionate about it. And I think that just growing up and seeing that, that struggle and that success eventually by owning your own business, I think knowing how hard it is made me appreciate that more. Those people more.
Gotcha. And yeah, I mean, and because it's weird because I think like I would think about how, if I were teaching like entrepreneurship, like how would I teach a course? And like, I don't know because it is so multidisciplinary. Like if you're an entrepreneur, it's like, you've got to technically know whatever say you own a pie company. You've got to know how to make pies. You've got to then know how to source supplies to make pies. You've got to then know where to hire people. You've got to learn how to deal with leasing. You've got to learn how to deal with advertising, marketing, client complaints. Like it is the ultimate sort of like capstone education that is like omnibus. And it would be very difficult to sort of, you've got to learn finance. Gosh, like there's so much. So I think it would be hard for a law school to sort of comprehensively teach like how to run a business or how to run a law firm, certainly in the context of like a 16-week semester or whatever, however long a semester is. So I think you probably got the best education being homeschooled, regarding these things. So you're at Lewis Brisbois, and what are you doing right now as you're waiting for the bar exam?
Yeah, so right now I'm technically a law clerk or incoming associate, and I am doing general liability and medical malpractice defense. We are a big firm, so I have a lot of people to learn from here, and I'm just trying to learn as much as I can.
So for somebody out there, like how do you go about getting an associateship at a big firm like Lewis Brisbois? What was your path there?
Yeah, so actually, we were talking about mentors before, and so one of my mentors is Danielle Wisnowski. She actually works at the Goff Law Group, and Danielle I've known since my senior year of undergrad, and I was her intern at Carter Mario. And Danielle and I became really close, and she's my main mentor. And after I worked at Carter Mario, we stayed in touch. He actually got me both of my jobs in law school. So it just goes to show that, having a strong mentor and having someone that you can count on and look to for advice can really just open up so many doors. So Danielle actually reached out to a mutual colleague and got me the interview at Lewis Brisbois, and I interviewed last summer. Last summer, I worked as a summer associate here, and then I pretty much worked here up until I took the bar exam as a law clerk, and they offered me a job last fall. So yeah, so I'm just goes to show that through your mentors can just open up so many doors.
So is that common with your classmates? Like, do they commonly get offered jobs in the summer, fall, post grad? Like, how is that working? At least when I went to law school, the job market was so tight. When people got out, very few people had any sort of jobs lined up. And obviously, the labor market has changed. But what is sort of like the normal, or not that there is a normal sort of path here, but what do you see out there for law students?
Yeah, so my class was extremely lucky. I think that most of my classmates and at least all of my friends in law school had jobs going into the bar exam, which is huge.
Yeah.
A huge weight off your shoulders when you're starting to study. for the bar. So typically, I think that, there's a couple people that got hired from their summer associates, their 2L summer. So they got hired afterwards and they were going to work there after their 3L year. And others that went, prosecutor route or are going into like a state position. They, did fellowships, I think, but to be honest with you, Quinnipiac, what I do have to say about Quinnipiac, it definitely prepared my class at least really well for getting jobs and getting jobs right out of law school, which is more than anyone can ask for.
That's pretty interesting. That's not something I hear a lot. What was it that Quinnipiac did that you felt was valuable in terms of helping you get jobs?
So I think, Quinnipiac has a lot of faculty that are, working in the legal fields and are not just professors. So I took a lot of classes, my 2L and 3L year. A significant amount of my classes were at night. And so they were taught by people that were practicing during the day. And having a professor that works at a law firm and is actually practicing and not just teaching can definitely open up so many doors for people. So I had a decent amount of classmates that, reached out to our professors and, they did well in the class or they networked with them. And that was how they found a job after graduation.
That's awesome. And yes, if you're out there like adjunct professors, and I mean, it can be just incredibly valuable. Sometimes one of my criticisms of law school is a lot of times there's sort of like a path to professorship that involves like going to an Ivy League school, getting a clerkship, maybe doing a year at practice. That's like getting your feet wet and then right into like academia, or that seems to be the path that like a lot of my professors had followed, and some of them never even worked in private practice. And so, yes, they're certainly subject matter experts, but how things like practically play out, how to be a lawyer, how to get business, to get jobs, were something that they just, despite maybe their best intentions, it was just an unfamiliar world for them. So that is awesome. I think for anybody out there, like that is absolute great advice to go out and to take professors. So I'll spend a little bit of time here with your experience in law school. So you go into you're an athlete in college. What do you do? What do you do in law school to sort of stay healthy? How does law school impact your ability to, maintain a level of fitness that you've had, or like what does it look like? How do you cope with the basically the burden of law school impacting your life in a way, if it did?
Yeah. So again, like you said, I've been an athlete, my entire life. And so after college, as many people that, play a sport in college realize that, you need something to kind of fill that void. And I started law school in 2020 during the COVID pandemic. So that void obviously couldn't be filled with like organized sports. So I started running, actually. I started running my senior year in college, but I started running half marathons and 5Ks, and I actually do that with my mentor, Danielle. She got me into it. She roped me in. But yeah, so I run and I work out, and I think, something super important while you're in law school is having some sort of outlet to, you're trapped in a room studying for so many hours a day, you're in class for so many hours a day, and especially during COVID, you couldn't really go outside too much. So I think having an outlet during law school, for me, it was working out. It's incredibly important.
Awesome. That is great advice. So if you could go back to Haley and, like we'll say 3 years ago, right before you start law school, or 4 years ago, right before you start law school, like what advice would you give yourself about law school?
Oh, yes. So that's a great question. So for me personally, I've never been, I've always been, successful enough in school. But I think that the idea going into law school is you're putting a bunch of type A overachieving people in one space. And the idea is, if you don't get great grades, if you don't get on law review, if you don't, get some sort of academic recognition, then you won't be successful after law school. And I think that's the narrative. And, obviously I'm very competitive, and you have a bunch of very competitive people all competing for class rank and, certain things in law school. And I think what I'd go back and tell myself is, I wasn't on law review. I didn't have the highest grades in my class, and I still wound up at a great firm, and in a really successful position. So I would go back and tell myself that, you do need to, it's okay to be competitive. It's okay to, push yourself to do the best in law school. But I would also say that, your grades or your ability to be on law review or things like that won't be life or death when it comes to a job afterwards.
That is great news, and I am absolutely sure somebody out there listening needs to hear that. Law school, I promise you, your first career grades do not seal your fate as a lawyer, or the success that you can achieve, or it doesn't mean a whole lot, other than that they're your first year grades. So you end up at Carter Mario, and I know some of the lawyers down there. They've got some fantastic lawyers. But that is a very business-oriented firm. They really run their firm like a business. So can you talk about that? And were you drawn to the firm because of that? What did you learn watching them do the various things that they do?
Yeah, so exactly what you said. The firm is definitely run like a business. I think now after I've worked at three firms, and two of the offices at Carter Mario, and then another firm, and now here. I think after working for all these firms, I can kind of see there's different qualities that make a successful law firm and make for a good work environment. And I do have to say that the work environment at Carter Mario was incredible. And I think that just goes to show the way that they run it as a business. I think yeah.
Can we pause there? I'm loath to interrupt you, but I am a huge advocate for building healthy law firms and trying to build healthy law firms, because there's just so many law firms out there that are unhealthy in a whole host of ways. So what specifically did they do culturally that you feel was that made it a great place to work? So if you're out there and you're an associate trying to oh my gosh, I'm in this firm that's terrible, or you're thinking about owning a business or starting a law firm that's healthy, what did they do specifically to make you feel that way? Or I guess nobody can make you feel a way, but what actions did they do to really promote a good work environment?
Yeah, so fostering a strong work environment, first of all, I never realized how huge that was until I've worked at places that don't foster that. Not here. I love it here, but I've definitely worked at firms in the past that don't foster that togetherness and that strong environment. So I think what Carter does incredibly well is that so first of all, I've worked there twice. I worked there as a senior in college, and then I worked there again during my 2L year. And what they do incredibly well is there's a lot of training, there's a lot of onboarding, there's a lot of, when you get in, you meet everybody. And I think the overall, I hate to use this word, but the overall vibe in the office is very welcoming. Everyone's doors are always open. And I think that there's a lot of, so Carter does a lot of charity work. So we would, when I worked at Carter Mario in New Britain, we would do walks together as a team. And that's what it is. And I think that, building a strong law firm, they call themselves a team. And I think working together as a team, which speaks to me as an athlete, is what will lead to success for the firm, which I think is what sets them apart.
That is great advice for whatever company you decide to build. Like, take those lessons, build on them, because look, every lawyer can feel overwhelmed. Like, there's always more things to do, more pressures on you to do, deadlines. Especially you're doing like litigation, a whole bunch of deadlines, and the ability to need to be precise and turn things around, right? And so things like giving away backpacks, like our firm does, or walks, or like firm lunches. Like, it can feel extra, but it's really like critically important. And if you don't do those things, like, you pay for it in so many other ways, of attrition, of, client happiness, of, results ultimately, I think. So, as you're out there on your entrepreneurial journey, like, definitely take and build on those lessons, because I can tell you for our firm, like, those things make all of the difference. Like, culture is what you do. And if you are a team and you are doing things together, and you are, you are caring for each other, and your doors are open, like, yeah, like, that is a big deal for law firms.
I do agree with you 100%. And I think that company culture, like I said, I didn't realize how important that was. And, going back to speaking about, my dad and how he's kind of my inspiration for starting my own business, he does all those things with his company. He does team lunches. He does, Christmas parties. And you might think like, oh, that's an extraneous expense. But I think that, building that company culture, like you said, just leads to, more togetherness as a group, and just better results for whatever business that you're doing.
Yes, it does. Unquestionably, I can tell you, having been in business myself for 11 years, unquestionably critical. I always tell my team, like, we can't buy enough lunch, and do things together and have fun, because at the end of the day, like, work occupies a lot of space in your life. And if you're not working with people you like, and you're not doing things that you like, or you're not having fun, like, that takes a toll. It takes a toll. So, you're an associate, you're doing litigation. I mean, is there an area of law ultimately that you want to go into? Is there a kind of firm that you want to build? Like, where are your dreams? And we're not talking right now. We're talking like way down the road, because, you told me in pre-recording, like, hey, look, I need to learn a lot, and I need to learn from fantastic lawyers, which is where I am. So, like, long-term goals, like, what are you thinking? Like, if I'm talking to you, Haley, 20 years down the road, like, where are you?
Hopefully in a big house. No, I'm just joking.
Okay.
So,
well,
20 years down the road, hopefully, I think my passion is in this healthcare space. And, I'm unsure right now whether I'd want to do it from the plaintiffs or the defense side. But in owning my own firm, I think my goal would be to find a niche that is untapped right now. I think that I want to build a business and build a firm that is different. I think Connecticut has a lot of different sects of law firms, and you can, in building your own business, I think that you kind of have your pick at what you want to go into, and what population you want to serve. Who do you want to serve? And for me, I think that, I'm very interested in this healthcare space, and I'm trying to figure out what that niche is in that space. So obviously there's the personal injury side, there's the medical malpractice side, there's, representing healthcare professionals. And I'm just interested in, people that have done it and what they've done to get to where they are. And my last thing is that I would like to build a firm that's, not just me and two partners. I'd like to build something that's, big and serves a decent chunk of the population.
And if you're out there and you're listening to this, I mean, a few points of what you could just take from Haley said. One is that, like, there are what I call, and I think marketers call, like, blue ocean space, okay? Which is just like, there's a lot of people fishing in like a small area, and then there's a whole host of untapped opportunity out there that is just, maybe it's blue ocean. Like, it is open seas. There aren't a lot of people fishing. And really, like, one of the lessons you should learn is, like, there are riches in niches. And like, there are no, look, healthcare is a fantastic area for a number of reasons. One is it's incredibly highly regulated. And like, the amount of regulations as we, get into AI, and we get into all these things that are going on, all these advances in technology, all these different business structures. I mean, when I graduated law school, like, there were independent hospitals. Now you've got conglomerates buying up everything. Health insurance, pre-existing conditions didn't have to be covered. Device making. I mean, just all of this stuff. And so it's exploding with regulation. It's exploding with technology. And I mean, look, I graduated law school in 2005. I mean, things like cannabis law didn't exist. Or if it did, it meant you were representing the drug dealer on the corner. But there's whole areas of law. Social media didn't exist. Cryptocurrency didn't exist. And as I say these things to you, like, in 20 years, there's going to be 5 to 10 more of these, like, massively societal changing things. And law really operates in a environment where we are reacting to different things. So yes, like, there are definite, be on the lookout for those opportunities. To me, like, join professional associations, join trade associations, and maybe you don't go to their meetings, but you read what they're talking about, and you just sort of learn by osmosis to sort of identify opportunity. I mean, and yes, reaching out to people, whether it's me or, people in the healthcare industry, awesome. Talk to them. Hey, what do you see happening in the next 5 years in this business? Where do you see the needs? Like, what doesn't get done? And so, when you go to law school, you may be thinking, like, okay, there's personal injury, there's insurance defense, there's, the corporations merging hospitals and whatever. But, like, there's a whole host of things that go on day to day that there is opportunity that, if you are willing to do it, look for. The other thing that you said that struck me was, like, you don't want to be like a solo, like, you need to build a team. And, that is its own set of skills. And so, to me, if you grew up in the household, you did, like, you sort of have, like, an MBA by osmosis, which is incredibly valuable, because one of the things that, there's a great book out there. It's called E-Myth. Have you know about E-Myth?
No.
Okay. E-Myth is basically, it's a story of Sarah the pie maker. And I'm going to give you the way Cliff Notes version, but if you're thinking about doing an entrepreneurial thing, like, E-Myth is sort of like, I don't know, like one of the holy scrolls. Like, it is a big deal in sort of the entrepreneurial space, written by Michael Gerber. Book was written in like the 90s. But it's timeless in the sense that he talks about Sarah the pie maker. Sarah makes great pies. Sarah loves to make pies. People rave about her pies. She cooks out of her kitchen. She sells her pies, and that's it. So she is a technician, okay, and she is making pies, and so you can see where this is going. Lawyers are like the pie maker; they're making pies. But at some point, she decides, hey, look, I need to grow. This is not like I've reached my limit as to what I can do, because I can only make, we'll say, 30 pies in a day. And in order for me to be more successful, make more money, serve more pies, I need to create systems. And then I need to hire people to run those systems so that they can make the pie the same way I made the pie without me making the pie. Okay. That's basically eMyth. And it talks about how technicians have entrepreneurial fits, is a term that Gerber uses. I quarrel with that a little bit. I coach lawyers around the country, and really what they tend to have is more of an autonomy fit. Like they're like, I'm in a firm and I want the letterhead to be red and it's green and I'm out of here. Okay. Like, no, but it's just like, I want autonomy to be able to have my website look the way it does. And I use letterhead as I don't even know if law firms have letterhead anymore. We may have some way back in a box somewhere, but it does. I don't know where it is actually. But what you're going to have is a real entrepreneurial fit, which is like, okay, I'm doing this thing. How do I get the money? How do I build the systems? Like, what is the market that I'm going into? Who is my ideal client? How am I going to run this business? How am I going to set it up? How am I going to add talent? How am I going to manage finance? Because every business has the same thing. We have operational issues. We have to focus on delivery, like the making of the pies, finance, marketing, and how do you sort of flip that switch? And so as I say this, and I've just blabbed on for quite a while, what are you hearing, Haley? Like, what do you think that this looks like for you?
Yeah. So first of all, love that metaphor, that story. I think that, you can really connect in all entrepreneurial spaces. You can really connect the building of a business back to so many things, just like pie making. So for me, I think that I liked what you said about, you create the systems and then you find a team to administer or to run those systems. And I think that for me, something that you are really good at, based on your LinkedIn presence and your firm, is motivating others. And I think that as a team and building a team, and something that I'm looking forward to is, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. So you're only as good as those other people that are making the pies with you. So for me, surrounding myself with a strong team and being able to motivate them and motivate myself is something that I think my athlete background will serve, and something that really drives that entrepreneurial side inside of me.
So there are a lot of business books, and if you're out there listening to Haley, and maybe this is the path that you want to take, to me, there's one business book that a lot of business books are garbage. Like, they could be tweets, like do less and delegate or something. Like, that is the whole point of the book, and the author gives that book, they fill 300 pages with it, and then they want to sell you their course. So a lot of business books are garbage, but there's one business book in particular. I mean, eMyth, you should absolutely read, because you're going to experience that. eMyth spends a lot of time on the problem and very little time on the solution, other than to say build systems and hire people. Fine. I hope I didn't give anything away. Spoiler alert on eMyth. But good book, very quick read. But the other book I would recommend reading out of all of them is a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. And Traction by Gino Wickman is probably the most widely used book by successful, I would say, small and medium-sized businesses, SMBs as they are known, not just in the legal space, outside of the legal space. And his basic thing is that you need to have what's known as an entrepreneurial operating system. Just like your computer has Windows or iOS or Mac OS or whatever it is. Like, you need an operating system on how to run the business. And I'm not going to go into all of it, but suffice, if you're out there listening and you're like, I really want to start a business and be successful, really read Traction. And it's the kind of book that I probably read once every 6 months and just try to continue to understand and grow and learn. So be on the lookout and read Traction for sure. The other thing you had mentioned this so well, like, I'm an athlete, I'm motivated team. The other thing about with being an entrepreneur, and I think it's going to serve you so well, is to have self-awareness. Like, know what you're really good at, know what you're not so good at. So I'm guessing, like, what position do you play in basketball?
Shooting guard.
Right. So you're good at shooting, presumably.
Right.
Like, but maybe rebounding and in the paint is not your deal. So find somebody as you're building your team. Don't stack a team of shooting guards. I mean, look, if you can put 5 Steph Currys out on the floor, you're probably okay. But most of the time, being a team is finding those complementary skills. So finding that body in the paint who's going to box people out, get those rebounds, finding somebody who can dish the ball around, right? Like, those things are incredibly important. So as you go on your journey, like, really, as you start hiring, think about the things that you're not good at, that drain you. I don't ever want to look at my books, ever. So it's like, well, but I have people who look at them for me and then tell me what is going on. But it's just not where I live. Like, it's not I'm at that point, I'm a shooting guard trying to rebound, trying to play in the paint. I'm terrible at basketball, so I'm none of these things. So, okay, let's conclude with where we are, which is for me was a terrifying moment in my existence, like, waiting for those bar results to come up. Do they still do this? When I did it, they just post it online.
Yeah, they just post it on the judicial website in a chart.
Yes. So it's all like, Command S, like, your name, Shift refresh, right? And they give you a specific time that they release these?
Yeah. So they're supposed to come out at noon, I think, on Friday.
Okay. So what is if you're an athlete, you're a lawyer, like, what is your game plan for that?
Oh gosh. My game plan for finding out my results is hopefully de-stress in the morning, get a workout in, go for a run, and then probably head to work. And yeah, just positive thoughts, positive vibes. I'm definitely someone that, I do affirmations, I do visualization. So just visualizing, seeing my name up there.
That is incredibly powerful. Like, and I get into, like, business circles and different things, and you can get a little wacky, I'd say, like it makes me feel like a little uncomfortable, but the notion of, like, manifestation is, like, incredibly powerful. And as an owner, like, you need to be the visionary, like, you need to see the success. And so often, like, we self-defeat. And so, like, that is a powerful thing, because look, if you're doing law and business, like, there's going to be days you're going to get punched in the face. Like, you're going to lose bad. And so, but the ability to imagine yourself in that big house, to imagine yourself with a team of 20 people doing, helping doctors grow their practices, whatever your niche becomes, like, that is incredibly powerful. It is going to, I think it's the very first step. And Gino Wickman talks about vision as, like, the most important component of a business. And a founder, a CEO needs to be a visionary and needs to live in that space. So what I want you to do, my homework for you is, like, I want you to have a vision for your celebration on I guess Friday night, Thursday night, whenever these come out.
Friday night.
I want you to have Freds on text, the place that you're going, something like that in the group chat. Okay.
Perfect. I will vision that, plan that, see that.
That is, I think, just a great place to end this. Anything else, Haley, that you would like to add that we haven't discussed?
No, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I think this is going to help a lot of people out there. I've not talked to any law student who has any hope or any dreams of being a sort of an entrepreneur in the space. So connect with Haley on LinkedIn. Follow her success, root for her. I know she's going to have that big house and that kick-ass team, and I look forward to cheering you on, okay?
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for joining Ryan McKeen in the Law Student Lounge, where real law students talk about their real lives. Are you a law student with a story to tell? Learn how you can share your story with us in the episode description. And join us next time in the Law Student Lounge.